You've studied English for years. Still can't speak? I know that pain. I hid from conversations in Seattle rain for 3 years. Then a stranger, a broken umbrella, and one stupid question changed everything. Love, marriage, kids, and real English, no textbooks. This is my story. Don't quit yet. Stay. The Seattle rain curse. Picture this. You're standing at a bus stop. It's 7:15 in the morning, dark, cold. And water is dripping from the roof of the shelter onto your left shoulder because you didn't want to sit too close to the stranger on the bench. You've lived in Seattle for 14 months now. And you still can't say excuse me without your voice cracking like a teenager going through puberty. That was me. Every single day. Let me tell you something your brain doesn't want you to know. Your brain is lazy. Not in a bad way, in a survival way. It protects you from discomfort. And speaking a new language? That's pure discomfort. Your brain would rather run a marathon in wet jeans than stand in front of an American cashier and answer, "How's your day going?" Because what if you say it wrong? What if they don't understand? What if they laugh? Spoiler alert, they won't laugh. But your brain doesn't know that. I came to the United States from Vietnam in 2019 with an English level that I'd proudly called intermediate. That was a lie. My reading was okay. My writing was slow but correct. My listening? Imagine trying to catch fish with your bare hands in a muddy river. And my speaking? Let's just say that when I tried to order a coffee, the barista asked if I wanted room for milk and I nodded yes because I thought she was asking if I wanted to sit down. I sat down. Without my coffee. That actually happened. So why Seattle? Because I was chasing a dream that I didn't even understand. A job opportunity. A fresh start. A chance to finally make it in America. But nobody warned me about the rain. Not the gentle, poetic rain you see in movies. No. Seattle rain is a passive-aggressive mist that somehow soaks through your jacket, your sweater, and your soul within 30 seconds. And when you're already lonely, already struggling, already questioning every life choice you've ever made, that rain feels personal. For 3 months, I followed the textbook method. I woke up at 5 a.m., reviewed vocabulary flashcards, listened to news podcasts at 1.5x speed, and repeated sentences like a robot. The cat sits on the mat. The cat sits on the mat. I could say that perfectly. But when my coworker asked, "Hey, wanna grab lunch?" my brain short-circuited. Wanna? What is wanna? Is that English? Why are you eating words? Here's the science part. Neuroscientists call it the affective filter. When you're anxious, embarrassed, or scared, your brain literally blocks language acquisition. It's not your fault. Your amygdala, that tiny almond-shaped alarm system in your head, decides that social danger is real danger. So it shuts down the prefrontal cortex, where your careful, practiced English lives. And what's left? The English of a sleepy toddler. Me. Coffee want. I cried in my apartment more times than I want to admit. Not dramatic crying. Just sitting on the floor, leaning against the radiator, staring at the gray sky through a rain-streaked window, thinking, why did I come here? I'll never belong. I'll never sound like them. I should just go home. That's the curse. The Seattle rain curse isn't about weather. It's about isolation. When you're an immigrant learning English, every conversation feels like a test you didn't study for. And when you fail, When you see that flicker of confusion on someone's face, you retreat further. You say less. You hide more. And the rain just keeps falling. But here's what I didn't know yet. The curse has a crack. A tiny, almost invisible crack that only shows itself when you've hit absolute rock bottom. For me, that crack appeared on a Thursday morning. November 14th. I remember because I had forgotten my umbrella for the 5th time that week. I was standing at the bus stop near Pike Street, already soaked, already defeated, already planning to call my mom and tell her I was moving back. And then someone sat down next to me. Not just anyone. A woman. American. She had red hair that was turning dark from the rain, a green jacket that looked too thin for November, and an umbrella that was clearly broken. One of the metal ribs was sticking out at a weird angle, like a wounded bird. She didn't say anything at first. Neither did I. We just sat there, two wet strangers, waiting for a bus that seemed to be taking forever. Then she turned to me and said something so simple, so stupidly simple, that my brain almost didn't register it as an English sentence. She said, "This rain hates us, doesn't it?" I froze. My amygdala screamed, danger. Social interaction. Run. But my feet were wet and cold, and running would have required standing up. So I stayed. And for the first time, instead of planning my answer perfectly in my head, instead of rehearsing grammar and pronunciation and word order, I just said the first thing that came out. I think rain hates me more. You have umbrella. Even broken. She laughed. Not a polite, patronizing laugh. A real laugh. The kind that makes your shoulders relax without permission. Fair point, she said. Want to share it? It's mostly broken, but we can pretend. That was the beginning. I didn't know it yet. I thought it was just a random conversation with a random stranger. But looking back now, years later, married to that woman, father to 2 kids who speak both English and Vietnamese like it's nothing, I realized that broken umbrella was the best English teacher I ever had. Because she didn't correct my grammar. She didn't slow down her speech or repeat herself or treat me like a child. She just talked. And I just responded. Badly. Slowly. Incorrectly. But she stayed. And that changed everything. Your brain doesn't learn language from perfection. It learns from connection. From emotion. From the desperate need to say something, anything, to keep the conversation going because you don't want the person to leave. That's the secret. That's the crack in the curse. So here's what I want you to do today. Stop trying to speak perfect English. Stop rehearsing conversations in your head. Stop waiting until you're ready because you will never feel ready. Instead, find your rainy bus stop. Find your broken umbrella. Find someone who will laugh with you, not at you. And say the wrong thing. Say it loudly. Say it badly. Say it with your whole chest. Because the rain doesn't care if your grammar is correct. And neither should you. A bus stop, a stranger. Let me pause right here and ask you something uncomfortable. When was the last time you had a real conversation in English? Not a rehearsed one. Not the one where you practiced the sentences in your head 7 times before opening your mouth. A real one. Where you didn't know what the other person was going to say next. Where you stumbled. Where you maybe even said something completely wrong. If you can't remember, that's not your fault. That's the trap. Back to that Thursday morning. November 14th. The woman with the broken umbrella and the red hair turning dark from rain. Her name, I would later learn, is Sarah. But at that moment, she was just a stranger who had committed the crime of speaking to me. Here's what happens inside your brain when a native English speaker talks to you unexpectedly. First, your auditory cortex processes the sounds. But because you're anxious, it does a terrible job. The words come through like a staticky radio. Then your amygdala screams threat. And your prefrontal cortex, the smart part of your brain that actually knows English, starts to shut down. And finally, your mouth opens, and what comes out is pure chaos. That's not a moral failure. That's neuroscience. So when Sarah said, "This rain hates us, doesn't it?" my brain did exactly that. Chaos. But somehow, my mouth produced a sentence anyway. I think rain hates me more. You have umbrella. Even broken. I immediately hated myself. You have umbrella? Where was "you have an umbrella"? Where was the correct article? Why did I sound like a caveman who had just discovered clothing? But Sarah didn't flinch. She didn't correct me. She didn't give me that look, you know the look. The one where their eyebrows lift slightly and you can see them thinking, "Oh, you're not from here." She just laughed and said, "Fair point. Want to share it? It's mostly broken, but we can pretend." Now I had a new problem. She asked a question. Want to share it? That's not textbook English. Where was "do you want to share it"? Where was the auxiliary verb? But my brain, in its desperate scramble for survival, understood her anyway. Because here's the truth that textbooks don't teach you: real English is eaten. Words are swallowed. Sounds are smashed together. Want to becomes wanna. Going to becomes gonna. What do you want to do becomes what do you want auto. And if you've only studied written English, you're basically trying to learn swimming from a book about dolphins. I nodded. That was safe. Nodding doesn't require grammar. She scooted over on the bench. She had been sitting at the far end. Respecting the unspoken American rule of give strangers personal space, and held the broken umbrella over both of us. It was useless. The umbrella was so broken that water dripped through a hole in the fabric directly onto my left knee. But I didn't care. Because for the first time in 14 months, someone was sitting close to me on purpose. You're not from here, she said. Not a question. A statement. But a kind one. No, I said. Vietnam. Ah, she nodded. My cousin taught English in Hanoi for 2 years. He said the coffee there will ruin you for life. I didn't know what ruin you for life meant. Was that good or bad? My brain guessed. Yes. Coffee very strong. Very sweet. Condensed milk. See? That's what he said. He came back and couldn't drink American coffee for a year. He said it tasted like brown water. I laughed. Actually laughed. Not a nervous laugh. A real one. Because I had thought the exact same thing when I first tried Starbucks. Brown water. That was exactly right. And then something strange happened. My brain stopped screaming. The amygdala calmed down. The prefrontal cortex came back online, slowly, like a computer restarting. And I realized Sarah wasn't testing me. She wasn't grading my grammar. She was just talking. Like a normal person. And somehow, that made it easier to talk back. We sat there for another 10 minutes. The bus was late. Of course it was late. Seattle buses are always late in the rain. But I didn't mind. She asked me what I did for work. I said I worked at a small tech company doing data entry. She said she was a nurse at Swedish Medical Center. She asked if I liked Seattle. I said the rain was hard. She agreed. She said she'd lived here her whole life and still hated the rain. That surprised me. I thought Americans loved everything about their cities. You can love a place and still complain about it, she said. That's called being a local. I filed that phrase away in my mental dictionary. Being a local. 2 words that made me feel less like an outsider and more like someone who was learning. Then the bus arrived. The number 7. Her bus. She stood up, folded her broken umbrella, it folded even worse than it opened, and looked at me. This is mine. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow? Same time? I wanted to say something smooth. Something like I'd like that or sure, same time. But what came out was, yes. Tomorrow. Rain same. She smiled. Not a polite smile. A real one. Rain same, she repeated. I like that. It's poetic. Then she got on the bus, and the doors closed, and the bus drove away, and I was alone again at the bus stop. Still wet. Still cold. But something had changed. I couldn't name it yet. But my brain knew. My brain had just learned that English isn't a subject to be mastered. It's a bridge to be crossed. And you don't cross it by memorizing grammar rules. You cross it by taking one stupid, imperfect, terrifying step after another. Here's what I want you to take from this. That conversation was not perfect. I made a dozen mistakes. I said rain same instead of same rain tomorrow. I said you have umbrella without the article. But Sarah understood me. And more importantly, she didn't care about the mistakes. She cared about the connection. Your English does not need to be perfect to be understood. It does not need to be flawless to be beautiful. It just needs to be real. And the only way to make it real is to use it. With strangers. At bus stops. In the rain. So tomorrow morning, find your own bus stop. Find your own stranger. And say something wrong. Say it with courage. Because the right person won't correct your grammar. They'll just smile and say, that's poetic. The umbrella that changed everything. Let me tell you about the most expensive umbrella in the world. It wasn't made of silk or gold. It didn't have a fancy brand name. It was a broken, $5 drugstore umbrella with a bent rib and a hole in the fabric. And it cost me everything, in the best possible way. The next morning, I woke up at 5:30. Not because I had to. Because I couldn't sleep. My brain was replaying the conversation with Sarah on a loop. Rain same. I like that. It's poetic. She said my broken English was poetic. Nobody had ever called my English anything but cute or hard to understand. Poetic was new. Poetic made me want to show up again. But here's the problem. I didn't know if she would actually be there. She said, maybe I'll see you tomorrow. Maybe. That word is a trap. Maybe gives you hope. Maybe also protects the other person from commitment. I stood in my tiny apartment, holding 2 umbrellas. One was brand new. I had bought it 3 months ago and never used it because I was saving it for a special occasion. The other was the cheap, flimsy one I actually used. Which one should I bring? I brought both. Because my brain, in its infinite wisdom, thought, if I bring the nice umbrella, she'll think I'm trying too hard. If I bring the cheap one, she'll think I'm cheap. So I'll bring both and then hide one in my bag like a normal person. Spoiler, I was not a normal person. The bus stop at 7:15 a.m. Same gray sky. Same passive-aggressive mist. Same dripping roof. But this time I arrived 15 minutes early. I stood there, pretending to look at my phone, but really just watching the corner where the number 7 bus would appear. My heart was doing something stupid. Racing. Skipping. The kind of heartbeat you get before a job interview or a first date. But this wasn't a date. This was just a conversation. Right? Wrong. Your body doesn't know the difference between romantic excitement and social anxiety. Same chemicals. Same sweaty palms. Same voice that cracks like a teenager. Neuroscience calls it misattribution of arousal. I call it my brain is a drama queen. At 7:23, I saw her. Red hair. Green jacket. That same broken umbrella, now even more broken because she had clearly tried to fix it with duct tape. Duct tape on an umbrella. That's either genius or insanity. I'm still not sure. She saw me. She smiled. And then she did something unexpected. She walked past me, sat down on the bench, and patted the seat next to her. You're early, she said. You're also early, I said. Smooth. Very smooth. I live 3 blocks away. I'm always early. It's my toxic trait. Toxic trait. Another phrase I didn't know. Was she poisonous? No, that didn't make sense. I filed it away for later Googling. I brought umbrella, I said, holding up the nice one. Not broken. She looked at my umbrella. Then she looked at hers, duct tape and all. Yours is boring, she said. Mine has character. I didn't know what character meant in this context. Was she saying her umbrella was like a person? I decided to take a risk. Your umbrella is ugly. But I like it. She laughed. That real laugh again. The one that made my shoulders relax. See? You're learning. Insults are the first sign of friendship in Seattle. Was that true? Probably not. But I didn't care. We sat there for 20 minutes. The bus came and went, her bus, the number 7, but she didn't get on. Neither did I. We just talked. Or rather, she talked, and I listened, and every few minutes I said something that was technically English but also technically wrong. And she never corrected me. Here's what I learned about Sarah that morning. She was 31. She had been a nurse for 8 years. She hated coffee but loved tea. She had a cat named Professor Snuggles, yes, really. She had never left the United States because she was afraid of flying. And she thought Vietnamese pho was the best soup ever invented even though she'd only had it from a food truck. And here's what she learned about me. I was 29. I had left Vietnam because I wanted to see if I could survive alone. I missed my mother's cooking every single day. I was terrified of American healthcare. And I had been learning English for 12 years but still felt like a beginner. You're not a beginner, she said. Beginners can't tell a story. You just told me a story. In English. With details. And feelings. That's not beginner. I wanted to argue. But she was right. I had just told her about my mother's cooking, how she made caramelized fish with black pepper and how the smell filled the whole house. I had used past tense. I had used adjectives. I had even used a simile. The fish was so dark it looked like coffee. Where did that come from? Your brain, it turns out, knows more English than you think. The problem isn't knowledge. The problem is access. When you're relaxed, when you're connected, when you're not being tested, the words come. Not perfectly. But they come. The bus came again. The number 7. The second one. Sarah stood up. I should actually go to work this time, she said. But tomorrow? Same time? Same place? Same rain? I asked. She smiled. Same rain. She walked toward the bus, then stopped. Turned around. Walked back to me. She took her broken, duct-taped umbrella and handed it to me. Here. Take it. Why? Because you need to learn that something broken can still be useful. And also because I'm buying a new one today. This thing is embarrassing. I took the umbrella. It was light. Pathetic. The duct tape was peeling. But it smelled like her. Rain and something else. Lavender, maybe. Tomorrow, I said. Tomorrow, she said. And then she got on the bus, and I stood there holding a broken umbrella that wasn't mine. Watching the number 7 disappear into the gray Seattle morning. Here's the science part. Your brain has something called mirror neurons. When you connect with someone, really connect, your brain mirrors their emotional state. That's why Sarah's laugh made me relax. That's why her patience made me braver. Language isn't learned in isolation. It's learned in relationship. The best English textbook in the world can't do what one patient stranger with a broken umbrella can do. So here's my challenge to you. Find something broken in your life. A broken routine. A broken fear. A broken belief that you'll never be good enough. And then show up anyway. Bring your broken English. Bring your broken confidence. Bring your broken umbrella. And give it to someone who needs to see that broken things can still be useful. Because that broken umbrella? I still have it. It's hanging on the wall of my home office. Next to our wedding photo. Every time I look at it, I remember, I didn't learn English from a textbook. I learned it from a woman who saw my broken sentences and called them poetic. Tomorrow. Same time. Same place. Same rain. From small talk to real talk. Here's something nobody warned you about when you're learning English. Small talk is a trap. How are you? Good, you? Weather's crazy, right? That's not a conversation. That's a script. And scripts don't teach you anything except how to be a parrot. Real talk, the kind that actually rewires your brain, is messy, unpredictable, and terrifying. But it's also the only thing that works. After that second morning at the bus stop, something shifted in me. I stopped thinking of Sarah as a stranger and started thinking of her as the woman with the broken umbrella. That small mental change, from anonymous to known, lowered my affective filter by about 50%. I still made mistakes. But the mistakes stopped feeling like catastrophes. They started feeling like normal. The third morning, I arrived with coffee. 2 cups. 1 black for me, I was trying to learn to like American coffee, 1 tea for her. She had told me she hated coffee. I remembered. That was a big deal for me, remembering a detail and acting on it in English. My brain had to do a whole sequence, recall the conversation, identify the relevant information, go to a coffee shop, order 2 drinks without panicking, carry them to the bus stop without spilling. That's executive function. That's real-world language use. No textbook can simulate that. She saw the tea and stopped walking. Is that for me? Yes, I said. You said tea. Not coffee. She took the cup, held it with both hands like it was a tiny campfire. You remembered, she said. Not a question. A statement. The kind of statement that means more than a thank you. Of course, I said. Then, because my brain was feeling brave, I am not stupid. Just slow. She laughed. You're not slow. You're learning 2 languages at once. English and American. What's the difference? English is a language. American is a chaos system where we say, I could care less when we mean I couldn't care less and nobody notices. I filed that away. Chaos system. Perfect description. We sat down. Same bench. Same dripping roof. Same gray sky. But different. Because now we weren't strangers making small talk. We were something else. Acquaintances? Almost friends? There's no good English word for that in-between stage. Maybe that's why people fall in love, because the language runs out of categories. She asked me a question that morning that changed everything. Not a small talk question. A real one. Why did you really come to America? Not what do you do or where are you from? Why? That's a dangerous question. It forces you to go beneath the surface. It forces you to use words like afraid and lonely and hope, words that don't have easy translations. I paused. My brain was screaming, danger. Vulnerability. Run. But I had tea in my hands, and she was looking at me not with curiosity but with something softer. Patience. The kind of patience that says I'll wait. I came because in Vietnam I was somebody. Here, I am nobody. I wanted to see if I could become somebody again. From zero. She didn't say that's sad or that's brave. She just nodded. I get that. I felt the same way when I moved to Seattle from Spokane. Spokane? Small city. Eastern Washington. Nothing there but potatoes and people who marry their high school sweethearts. I wanted to see if I could become somebody outside of that. We sat in silence for a moment. Not awkward silence. The good kind. The kind where both people are thinking instead of preparing their next sentence. Here's the neuroscience of that moment. When you share something real, something slightly painful, your brain releases oxytocin. The bonding hormone. It's the same chemical that makes you trust someone. And when the other person responds with understanding instead of judgment, their brain releases oxytocin too. You literally create a chemical loop. That's not poetry. That's biology. Real conversation is a drug, and you're both addicts now. The bus came. The number 7. Neither of us moved. Aren't you going to work? I asked. I'm early, she said. I'm always early, remember? Toxic trait. You said that before. What is? Toxic trait? She thought for a second. It's a flaw. But one that you kind of own? Like, I'm always early isn't a terrible thing, but if I'm being honest, I use it to control situations. I don't like waiting. So I make sure everyone else waits for me. I understood. Not the words, the feeling. The need to control because you're afraid of being out of control. That's universal. Doesn't need translation. I have toxic trait too, I said. I say sorry too much. For everything. Even when not my fault. Canadian syndrome, she said. What? It's a joke. Canadians say sorry all the time. But you're Vietnamese, so. Vietnamese syndrome? Maybe just human syndrome. She smiled. Human syndrome. I like that. You're good at this. Good at what? Naming things. Rain same. Human syndrome. You make new phrases. That's not bad English. That's poetry. I wanted to tell her that I wasn't making poetry. I was just too slow to find the right words, so my brain grabbed the closest ones. But maybe that's what poetry is. The closest words. The ones that land hard because they're not polished. We talked for 45 minutes that morning. I missed my bus. She missed hers. We didn't care. We talked about our families, her parents who didn't understand why she wasn't married yet. My mother who called me every Sunday at 6 a.m. her time because that was the only free hour. We talked about fear, her fear of flying, my fear of never belonging. We talked about food, music, the stupid way Americans measure everything in cups instead of grams. And through all of it, I made mistakes. Dozens of them. I said I go to store yesterday instead of I went to the store yesterday. I said she have cat instead of she has a cat. I mixed up borrow and lend so badly that she had to ask for clarification. But here's the thing. She never corrected me. Not once. She just responded to the meaning, not the grammar. That's the secret that no teacher ever told me. Correction doesn't help. Not in real time. When someone corrects your grammar in the middle of a conversation, your brain doesn't file it away as a lesson. It files it away as a shame memory. And shame memories block learning. What actually helps is being understood. When someone responds to your broken sentence like it's a real sentence, like you said something worth hearing, your brain releases dopamine. The reward chemical. And dopamine says, do that again. So I did. I kept talking. Kept making mistakes. Kept being understood. And slowly, without noticing, the mistakes started to disappear. Not because I studied them. Because my brain figured out what worked and what didn't. Brains are pattern recognition machines. Give them enough real conversations, and they'll figure out the patterns on their own. No grammar drills required. The bus came again. The third one. Sarah finally stood up. I really have to go now. My patients will riot. Your patients? I'm a nurse, remember? I have people who need me. Unlike some people who just need tea. She was teasing me. I could tell because her eyes crinkled. Teasing in a second language is hard. You have to understand tone, context, and intent, not just words. But I understood. You need tea too, I said. You just don't know it. Fair point. Tomorrow? Same time. Same place. Same rain. Same broken umbrella, she asked, pointing at the duct tape disaster I was still carrying. Same broken umbrella, I said. She walked toward the bus, then turned back one more time. Hey, she said. You're not nobody. Just so you know. Then she was gone. And I sat there, holding her broken umbrella, feeling something I hadn't felt in 14 months. Not happiness exactly. Something quieter. Something like roots. Like maybe, if I kept showing up, I might eventually belong here. That's what real talk does. It doesn't teach you vocabulary lists. It teaches you that you matter. And once you know that, the words will come. Not perfectly. But they'll come. Cultural shock, dating in America. Let me tell you about the first time I realized that love in English is completely different from love in Vietnamese. Not better. Not worse. Just opposite. Like trying to write with your left hand when you've used your right your whole life. Every instinct you have is wrong. And somehow, that's the whole point. After 2 weeks of bus stop conversations, something had shifted. Sarah and I weren't just two strangers sharing an umbrella anymore. We were what? Friends? Maybe. But friends don't look at each other the way we were starting to look at each other. You know the look. The one that lasts half a second too long. The one where you both look away at the same time, then look back, then pretend you were checking the bus schedule. Here's the problem. I had no idea how dating worked in America. In Vietnam, dating is structured. There are rules. The man asks the woman's family for permission. You don't kiss on the first date, or the fifth. Your parents need to approve. It's slow, formal, and everyone knows what to expect. America? America is chaos. People hang out 4 months without defining the relationship. They sleep together before they've even said I love you. They break up over text. I had heard horror stories from other Vietnamese friends. One guy went on 3 dates with an American woman, thought everything was fine, and then she ghosted him. Ghosted. Like a ghost. Just disappeared. No explanation. No closure. Just silence. I did not want to be ghosted. So I did what any reasonable person would do. I researched. I spent 3 hours on Reddit reading posts from confused immigrants asking, how do you know if an American likes you? The answers were not helpful. If they make time for you. If they introduce you to their friends. If they remember your coffee order. Sarah remembered my coffee order. She also remembered that I hated milk in my tea, that I was allergic to peanuts, not deadly, just itchy. And that my favorite color was blue because it reminded me of the sky in Hanoi. Did that mean she liked me? Or was she just a nurse who was good at remembering details? Here's the science. Your brain in a cross-cultural romantic situation is running 2 operating systems at once. Your native culture's OS, the one you were born with, has deep-rooted rules about flirting, touch, and timing. And the new culture's OS, the one you're learning, has completely different rules. When they conflict, your brain doesn't know which one to follow. So it freezes. That's not shyness. That's cognitive overload. The breakthrough happened on a Friday. Not at the bus stop. At a coffee shop. Sarah had suggested we grab coffee after work instead of meeting in the rain. Grab coffee. Another phrase I had to decode. Was this a date? Was this a friend thing? In Vietnam, a man and a woman don't grab coffee alone unless they're dating. But in America, apparently, coworkers grab coffee all the time. Platonic coffee. What even is platonic coffee? I showed up early. Of course I did. I sat in a corner booth, pretended to read a book, and watched the door. My heart was doing that stupid racing thing again. At 4:15, she walked in. Red hair. Different jacket, a navy blue coat that looked expensive. No broken umbrella because it wasn't raining. She looked different without rain. Brighter. Like someone had turned up the contrast. "You're early," she said, sitting across from me. Not next to me. Across. Was that good or bad? "You're not early," I said. "You're on time." That's new. I'm trying to be less controlling. It's my New Year's resolution. It's November. Early start. She ordered a chai latte. I ordered black coffee because I was still trying to like it. Spoiler, I never learned to like it. American coffee is brown water. I was right the first time. We talked for 2 hours. Not about work or weather. About real things. She told me about her last relationship, a guy named Matt who couldn't commit and moved to Portland without telling her. Portland. I had heard of Portland. It was like Seattle but smaller and weirder. She said she hadn't dated anyone seriously in 2 years because she was tired of teaching grown men how to be adults. I wanted to say, I am a grown man. I am an adult. I can commit. But that would have been too direct. Americans don't like direct. Americans like vague signals and plausible deniability. So instead, I said, Portland sounds stupid. She laughed. It is stupid. It's full of people who moved there because they couldn't handle Seattle. This was flirting. I was pretty sure. In Vietnamese flirting, you compliment someone's appearance. You look beautiful today. In American flirting, you insult a city together. Same energy, different packaging. Then she asked the question that almost broke me. So are you dating anyone? In America, I mean. My brain, this is a test. Answer carefully. If you say no, she'll think you're desperate. If you say yes, she'll lose interest. If you say something vague, she'll think you're hiding something. What I actually said, I don't know how. How to what? Date. In America. I don't know the rules. She put down her chai latte. Looked at me with those eyes, green, like sea glass. There aren't rules, she said. That's the rule. There are no rules. That's terrifying, I said. Yeah, she agreed. That's also the rule. Everything is terrifying and you do it anyway. Welcome to America. We sat in silence. The good kind again. I could feel something building between us, not words, not yet. Just potential. The kind of potential that makes your palms sweat. Then she did something that violated every Vietnamese dating rule I knew. She reached across the table and put her hand on mine. Just for a second. Just long enough for me to feel how warm her fingers were. Then she pulled back. I like you, she said. Not in a friend way. In a I want to see where this goes way. Direct. No games. No vague signals. No plausible deniability. She just said it. Like an American. Or maybe like a human who was tired of waiting. My brain, say something. Anything. Don't freeze. Don't say rain same. I like you too, I said. In the same way. The where this goes way. She smiled. That real smile. The one that made her nose crinkle. Good. That's settled then. That's it? I asked. No. Family permission? No. Courtship period? No. Rules? Rules are for people who don't trust each other, she said. I trust you. You showed up. Every day. In the rain. With tea. That's not nothing. Here's the cultural lesson I learned that day. American dating isn't chaos. It's just trust-based instead of rule-based. In high-context cultures like Vietnam, you follow rules to show respect. In low-context cultures like America, you show up consistently and let your actions speak. Both work. But you can't mix them. You have to pick one and commit. I picked hers. We walked out of the coffee shop together. It was raining again, of course it was. She didn't have an umbrella. I still had her broken one, the duct tape disaster. I opened it over both of us. The water dripped through the hole onto my left shoulder, just like the first day. This umbrella is still terrible, she said. This umbrella is perfect, I said. It brought me you. She rolled her eyes. That was so cheesy. You like cheese, I said. You told me. You eat cheese for breakfast. Fair point. We walked to the bus stop. Not because we needed the bus. Because it was our place. Our bench. Our dripping roof. We stood there, sharing that broken umbrella, not saying anything. And I realized, I wasn't learning English anymore. I was living in it. The language had stopped being a subject and started being the air I breathed. That's the secret to cultural integration. You don't learn the rules by studying them. You learn them by breaking them, messing up, apologizing, and trying again. You learn them by putting your hand on someone's hand and hoping they don't pull away. You learn them by showing up. Every day. In the rain. With tea. So here's my advice to you, wherever you are. Stop trying to understand American dating culture from YouTube videos and Reddit threads. Go outside. Talk to someone. Put your hand on the table, literally or metaphorically. And say something direct. Because the right person won't care if your grammar is perfect. They'll just be glad you showed up. Tomorrow, same time. Same place. Same rain. Same broken umbrella. But now, also, same girlfriend. The first fight, and why it was good. Let me tell you about the most useful argument I've ever had. Not the kind where you throw plates or slam doors. The kind where you're both wrong, both right, and both too stubborn to back down. The kind that makes you want to quit the relationship, until you realize that not quitting is the whole point. That fight taught me more English than 6 months of textbooks. Because here's the truth they don't tell you, anger is a language teacher. A brutal, honest, unforgettable one. 3 months into dating Sarah, everything felt perfect. Too perfect. That should have been my first warning. We had our routine, bus stop in the morning, coffee in the afternoon, dinner at her apartment twice a week. She was learning Vietnamese phrases, poorly, but adorably. She pronounced cam on like cam on, which means orange on, and I never corrected her because it was cute. I was learning American habits, eating peanut butter, I'm allergic, remember? Itchy, not deadly, watching football, boring, and learning to say no thank you instead of just smiling and accepting things I didn't want. But perfection is a lie. And lies have a shelf life. The fight started over something stupid. It always does. We were at a grocery store, Safeway, the one on Broadway. I was buying ingredients to make pho. Sarah was following me with a shopping cart, making jokes about how long it takes to find fish sauce. I was stressed because I wanted the pho to be perfect. She was stressed because she had just finished a 12-hour shift and hadn't eaten. Two hungry, tired people in an American grocery store is a recipe for disaster. Like putting gasoline next to a match. "Do you need help?" she asked. "No," I said. "I need focus." "Okay, sorry. I'm just standing here." "You are hovering." "Hovering?" "I'm pushing a cart." "That's not hovering. That's existing." I took a breath. My English was fine. But my emotions were not. And when emotions are high, language is the first thing to go. Your prefrontal cortex, the smart part, shuts down. Your amygdala, the alarm, takes over. Suddenly you're not a fluent adult. You're a toddler with a vocabulary of 50 words and a lot of feelings. "You always do this," I said. "Do what?" "You stand. And watch. Like I am performance." "A performance?" "I'm literally just here. With you. Because I like you. You like me but you don't trust me. To make food." "What? That's insane. I trust you. I just want to be near you." "Then help. Don't watch." "Help how?" "I don't know how to make pho. I'm American. Our national dish is hamburger." "Then wait outside." She stopped pushing the cart. Her face changed. The tiredness turned into something sharper. "You want me to wait outside? Like a dog?" "I didn't say dog." "You implied it." "I didn't imply anything. My English is not good enough to imply." That was true. And also funny. But neither of us laughed. Because we were too far into the fight. The fight had its own gravity now. Pulling us down. She walked away. Left the cart in the middle of the aisle. Walked out of the store. I stood there, holding a bottle of fish sauce, watching her red hair disappear through the automatic doors. Here's the science of that moment. When you fight in a second language, your brain is running a deficit. Not just emotionally, neurologically. The energy you'd normally use for emotional regulation is being used for vocabulary retrieval. So you say things that are sharper than you mean. Blunter. More absolute. You don't have the nuance to soften your edges. So everything comes out like a hammer. I finished shopping. Alone. Walked home. Alone. Made the pho. Alone. It was the best pho I'd ever made. And I couldn't eat it. 3 hours later, my phone buzzed. A text from Sarah, "Can we talk?" Not "I'm sorry." Not "that was my fault." Just "can we talk?" That's an American move. Don't assign blame. Just open a door. I texted back, "Yes." "Where?" "My apartment." 10 minutes. I walked to her place. It was raining. When wasn't it raining? And I didn't bring an umbrella. Not her broken one. Not mine. I wanted to be wet. I wanted to feel something other than the knot in my stomach. She opened the door. Her eyes were red. She had been crying. That made me feel terrible and relieved at the same time. Terrible because I caused it. Relieved because she cared enough to cry. "I'm sorry," she said. "I'm sorry too," I said. We stood in the doorway. Neither of us moved. Rain dripping from my jacket onto her welcome mat. "Do you want to come in?" she asked. Yes. She made tea. Not coffee. Tea. Because she remembered. We sat on her couch. Professor Snuggles, her cat, jumped onto my lap immediately. Traitor. Or maybe diplomat. "I was tired," she said. "And hungry. And I took it out on you." "I was scared," I said. "I wanted pho to be perfect. For you. To show you. My culture. My home. And I couldn't explain. My English broke." "It didn't break. You said exactly what you meant. You just meant it harder than you intended." That was the most insightful thing anyone had ever said to me about fighting in a second language. You meant it harder than you intended. Because you don't have the soft words. The cushioning phrases. The kind of "and maybe" and "I feel like." You just have the core. The bone. The truth without the skin. "I don't want you to wait outside," I said. "I know. I want you to help. But I don't know how to ask. Because asking for help in English feels like weakness." She put down her tea. Moved closer. Asking for help isn't weakness. It's the opposite. Weak people pretend they don't need help. Strong people say, "I need you." "I need you," I said. Testing the words. They felt strange in my mouth. Heavy. But good. "I need you too," she said. "Even when you're being a stubborn fish sauce hoarder." I laughed. She laughed. The cat jumped off my lap, offended by the sudden movement. Good. We were okay. Here's what that fight taught me about English. Arguments are not failures of communication. They are the most honest communication you'll ever have. Because you don't have the energy to be polite. You don't have the vocabulary to be indirect. You just have the raw, broken, beautiful truth. And if the other person stays, if they don't walk out and keep walking, then you've found something real. Neuroscience backs this up. Conflict, when resolved, releases oxytocin, the same bonding chemical as hugging and eye contact. Your brain literally rewards you for repairing a rupture. That's why couples who fight and make up are often closer than couples who never fight at all. The rupture and repair cycle builds trust. It says, we can break each other's hearts and still choose each other. The next morning, I showed up at the bus stop. Same time. Same place. Same rain. But this time I brought two things, her broken umbrella, and a small container of pho from last night. She was already there. Sitting on the bench. She looked at the container. Is that pho? From yesterday. It's cold now. But still good. Cold pho is, breakfast soup? Breakfast soup, she repeated. You're doing it again. Doing what? Naming things. You should write a dictionary. Rain same. Breakfast soup. Human syndrome. I should write our story, I said. And then, because I was feeling brave, in English. I'll buy the first copy, she said. We sat together. Ate cold pho from a plastic container with chopsticks. Shared the broken umbrella. Watched the number 7 bus come and go. Didn't care. That fight was the best English lesson I never signed up for. Because it taught me that language isn't about being correct. It's about being understood, even when you're angry, even when you're wrong, even when your grammar is falling apart. The person who matters will stay. They'll wait while you search for the word. They'll forgive the sharp edges. They'll eat cold pho with you in the rain. So here's my challenge to you. Stop avoiding conflict in English. Stop smiling and nodding when you disagree. Stop pretending everything is fine when it isn't. Have the fight. Say the wrong thing. Say it loudly. Say it badly. And see who stays. Because the ones who stay are the ones who will teach you more than any textbook ever could. Tomorrow, same time. Same place. Same rain. Same broken umbrella. And cold pho for breakfast. Meeting the family, a language nightmare. Let me paint you a picture of pure terror. It's not a horror movie. It's not a job interview in your second language. It's something worse. It's meeting your American girlfriend's family for the first time. At Thanksgiving. In a small town in eastern Washington where everyone has known each other since kindergarten and you're the first Vietnamese person they've ever spoken to. And they talk fast. And they use idioms. And they all hug. And you're not a hugger. And there's a dog. A big dog. And you're also scared of big dogs. Welcome to my November. Sarah had been warning me for weeks. My family is a lot, she said. They're loud. They interrupt each other. They'll ask you a million questions. Not because they're rude. Because they're curious. I nodded like I understood. I did not understand. In my culture, guests are treated formally. You speak when spoken to. You don't ask personal questions. You definitely don't hug strangers. Americans hug everyone. The mailman. The cashier. The person who cut you off in traffic. Okay, not that last one. But close. The science here is brutal. Your brain has something called schema, mental templates for familiar situations. You have a meeting the family schema from your culture. But now you need a new one. And building a new schema while you're actively in this situation is like trying to assemble IKEA furniture during an earthquake. Everything is shaking. The instructions are in a language you barely understand. And there's a missing screw. We drove to Spokane on Wednesday night. Sarah's parents lived in a house with a porch swing and an American flag. Her dad's name was Bob. Her mom's name was Linda. They had 3 dogs. 3. One was small and yappy. One was medium and nervous. One was large and slobbery. The large one, a golden retriever named Gus, immediately put his wet nose on my crotch. He likes you, Linda said. I smiled. My internal monologue, this dog is going to kill me. Dinner's at 4 tomorrow, Bob said. But people will start showing up around noon. You'll meet everyone. Aunts, uncles, cousins. About 20 people. 20 people. In Vietnamese, I could handle 20 people. In English, I could handle 1 person. Maybe 2 if they spoke slowly. 20 was not a number. 20 was a math problem I had not studied for. That night, I couldn't sleep. Sarah was already snoring next to me. She fell asleep like a light switch, off and gone. I stared at the ceiling, running through possible conversations in my head. What do you do for work? I work at a tech company. Data entry. Oh, data entry. That sounds interesting. Translation, boring. How did you and Sarah meet? Bus stop. Rain. Broken umbrella. That's so romantic. Translation, weird. Do you like America? Yes. Translation. I miss my mother's cooking and the smell of jasmine rice and the sound of motorbikes at midnight, but I can't say that because I don't have the words. My brain was exhausted by 2 a.m. I fell asleep rehearsing the phrase, pass the mashed potatoes. Thanksgiving morning. Chaos. The kind of chaos that Americans call festive and Vietnamese people call overwhelming. People arrived in waves. Each wave brought more food, more noise, and more hugs. I lost count of how many times I was hugged. 12. 14. Somewhere in the double digits. Each hug was a small heart attack. Here's what happens to your brain in a loud, crowded, fast-speaking environment. Your auditory processing goes into overload. You start missing words. Then you start missing sentences. Then you start smiling and nodding at everything because you've given up on understanding. That's called listening fatigue. It's real. It's exhausting. And it makes you say things like yes when someone asks, do you want more turkey? And also yes when someone asks, are you allergic to anything? I am. Peanuts. But I said yes to both. So I got more turkey and also a peanut pie. I did not eat the pie. The worst moment came at dinner. 20 people around a long table. I was sitting between Sarah and her Uncle Jerry, who was 73 and had a mustache that looked like a small animal had died on his face. Uncle Jerry asked me a question. I didn't catch the first half. I caught the word Vietnam and the word war. My heart stopped. I'm sorry? I said. The war, he said, louder. Were you in the war? Jerry. Linda said. He's 30 years old. He wasn't alive. Oh, Jerry said. Right. Sorry. I get confused. I wanted to disappear. Not because I was offended. Because I didn't know how to respond. In Vietnamese, I would have said something graceful like, no worries, time is confusing for everyone. In English, all I could manage was it's okay. 2 words. Pathetic. Sarah squeezed my hand under the table. Uncle Jerry fought in Vietnam, she whispered. He's not trying to be weird. He just doesn't know how to connect with anyone under 60. That helped. Not a lot. But some. Then came the question I was dreading. From Aunt Carol, who had purple hair and glasses that magnified her eyes like a bug. So, she said, are you going to stay in America? Or go back to Vietnam? Everyone got quiet. 20 people. Forks stopped moving. Even the dog stopped barking. All eyes on me. This was not a small talk question. This was a life question. And my English, my poor tired English, had to answer it. I don't know, I said. I want to stay. But home is complicated. Aunt Carol nodded. Not a dismissive nod. A thoughtful one. Complicated, she repeated. That's a good word for it. Then Bob, Sarah's dad, raised his glass. To complicated, he said. And to new people who show up in the rain. Everyone clinked glasses. I clinked too. My hand was shaking. But I clinked. Here's the neuroscience of surviving a family holiday in a second language. Your brain has limited cognitive bandwidth. Every word you process, every social cue you interpret, every hug you endure, it all costs energy. By hour 4, you're running on fumes. That's normal. That's not failure. That's physics. The key is to stop judging yourself for being tired. You're not weak. You're doing something incredibly hard. After dinner, Sarah found me on the back porch. I was sitting on the steps, alone, watching the rain. Spokane rain is different from Seattle rain. Heavier. More aggressive. Like it has something to prove. You survived, she said, sitting next to me. Barely. Uncle Jerry feels terrible. He asked me to tell you he's sorry. He doesn't need to be sorry. I don't have the words. For any of it. She put her head on my shoulder. You have enough words. You said complicated. That's a hard word. A lot of native speakers can't use it right. Really? Really. Most people say it is what it is because they're too lazy to find the real word. You found it. Complicated. That's everything. We sat in the rain. Neither of us had an umbrella. I didn't care anymore. The rain was just rain. The family was just family. And I was just a person who was learning, slowly, painfully, imperfectly, how to belong. The next morning, before we left, Linda handed me a Tupperware container. Leftover turkey, she said. And some of my famous pumpkin bread. You need to eat more. You're too skinny. Thank you, I said. For everything. Your family is complicated. But good complicated. Linda teared up. Actual tears. That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said about us. On the drive back to Seattle, Sarah looked at me. You passed, she said. Passed what? The family test. They loved you. Even Uncle Jerry. Especially Uncle Jerry. He called you that nice young man 3 times after you left. I said maybe 10 sentences. You said the right sentences. That's all that matters. Here's what I learned from that Thanksgiving. You don't need perfect English to make a good impression. You need honesty. You need a willingness to be uncomfortable. And you need to say complicated when life is complicated. Because everyone, no matter their language, understands that word. So here's my advice for your next family gathering. Stop trying to be fluent. Stop trying to impress. Just show up. Eat the turkey. Hug the people who hug you. Say complicated when you don't have the answer. And when Uncle Jerry asks about the war, take a breath and say it's okay. Because it is. You're learning. And learning is the most complicated, beautiful thing there is. Wedding bells in 2 languages. Let me tell you about the scariest 2 words in the English language. Not I'm sorry. Not you're fired. Not even we need to talk. The scariest 2 words are I do. Because when you say them, you're not just agreeing to marriage. You're agreeing to spend the rest of your life speaking a language that still feels like wet cement in your mouth. You're agreeing to fight, make up, raise children, grow old, and one day say goodbye, all in words that didn't exist in your childhood. That's terrifying. That's also love. Sarah proposed to me. Did I mention that? In America, apparently, women can propose. Another cultural shock. In Vietnam, the man asks the woman's father for permission, then plans a formal ceremony with ancestors and tea and a lot of bowing. In America, you're at a Thai restaurant on a Tuesday, and your girlfriend suddenly puts down her spring roll and says, I think we should get married. No ring. No kneeling. No blessing from ancestors. Just a spring roll and a question. I choked on my noodle. Literally. A piece of rice noodle went into my windpipe. Sarah had to do the Heimlich maneuver on me. She's a nurse, remember, and I coughed up the noodle onto my plate. That's not the answer I was hoping for, she said. Sorry, I wheezed. You surprised me. Is that a yes? I looked at her. Red hair. Green eyes. The same woman who shared a broken umbrella with me at a rainy bus stop. Who ate cold pho for breakfast? Who defended me to her Uncle Jerry? Who learned to say come on like orange on and never stopped trying? Yes, I said. It's a yes. She kissed me. Right there in the restaurant. The waiter clapped. An old couple at the next table cheered. Americans are weird. But I was starting to like weird. The wedding planning was a nightmare. Not because we fought, we didn't. Because every decision required translating between two cultures. A Vietnamese wedding has a tea ceremony, multiple outfits, and a banquet with 10 courses. An American wedding has a white dress, a cake, and something borrowed and blue. Sarah wanted both. I wanted both. Neither of us knew how to make them fit. Do we need a dragon? She asked, looking at Vietnamese wedding photos online. That's not a dragon. That's a lion. For luck. What does the lion do? Dances. And eats lettuce. And gives money. She stared at me. I'm sorry. The lion eats lettuce and gives money? Yes. It's traditional. America has nothing like this. Our traditions are something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. And also we throw rice. Rice? At people? At the couple. For fertility. So your tradition is throwing food at people for babies? Okay, when you say it like that, it sounds insane. All traditions are insane, I said. That's why they're traditions. We decided to do both. A Vietnamese tea ceremony in the morning, an American ceremony in the afternoon, and a reception that combined pho with wedding cake. Our guests included my mother, who flew in from Hanoi, crying before she even got off the plane. Sarah's entire extended family, including Uncle Jerry, who wore his military uniform and cried during the tea ceremony. And about 50 friends who had no idea what was happening but were happy to be there. Here's the science of bilingual weddings. Your brain has to switch between languages constantly. That's called code switching. For most bilinguals, it's automatic. For me, it was a performance. During the tea ceremony, I had to speak Vietnamese to my mother and English to Sarah's parents, sometimes in the same sentence. My brain felt like a DJ mixing two songs that had different tempos. But somehow, miraculously, it worked. The moment I'll never forget came during the American ceremony. The officiant, a friend of Sarah's who got ordained online, asked us to say our vows. I had written mine in English. It took me 3 weeks. I asked 4 different native speakers to check my grammar. I practiced in the mirror every morning. And when the moment came, I looked at Sarah, opened my mouth, and forgot everything. Every word. Every sentence. Every hour of practice. Gone. My brain, white noise. My heart, pounding. My palms, sweating like I was back at that bus stop. Sarah squeezed my hands. It's okay, she whispered. Just say what you feel. What I felt. Not what I practiced. What I felt. So I did. I came here, in the rain, I said. I was wet. Cold. Lonely. I thought I would never belong. Then you sat next to me. With a broken umbrella. And you said this rain hates us. And I knew. Not then. But later. I knew you were my home. Not America. You. My English is not perfect. My grammar is sometimes wrong. But my love for you is not wrong. It is the only thing I say correctly every time. I do. I do. I do. People cried. My mother sobbed into a napkin. Uncle Jerry blew his nose loudly. Even the photographer, a cynical man who had shot 200 weddings, wiped his eye with his sleeve. Sarah's vows were shorter. You taught me that love doesn't need perfect language, she said. It just needs showing up. You showed up. Every day. In the rain. With tea. And that broken umbrella? I still have it. I'll keep it forever. I do. We kissed. People cheered. Someone threw rice, into my hair, down my shirt, everywhere. The lion dancer showed up late but ate the lettuce and gave us money. My mother and Linda hugged and cried together despite not understanding a single word the other said. That's the thing about love. It doesn't need translation. After the reception, after the cake was eaten and the pho was gone, Sarah and I sat on the back steps of the venue. It was raining. Of course it was raining. Seattle doesn't care about your wedding. I can't believe we did it, she said. I can't believe I said I do without dying. You did great. Your English was beautiful. My English was a disaster. I forgot my whole speech. But you said something better. You said, my love is not wrong. That's poetry. I looked at her. Rain on her face. Makeup running slightly. She had never looked more beautiful. Rain same, I said. Rain same, she agreed. Here's what that wedding taught me about language. Perfection is the enemy of connection. I spent 3 weeks memorizing a perfect speech, and when the moment came, my brain rejected it. Because perfection isn't real. What's real is the messy, imperfect, terrified truth that comes out when you stop trying to be someone else. Sarah didn't marry a fluent English speaker. She married a man who says rain same and means it. That's enough. That's always been enough. So here's my question for you. What are you waiting for? Perfect grammar? Perfect pronunciation? Perfect confidence? That day will never come. The only day that comes is today. The only words you have are the ones in your mouth right now. Say them. Say them badly. Say them to someone who matters. Because I do in broken English is still I do. And love doesn't care about your accent. After the wedding, we drove to the bus stop. The same one. The bench. The dripping roof. We stood there, holding hands, getting wet. No umbrella this time. No need. This is where it started, Sarah said. This is where everything started, I said. I kissed her. The number 7 bus drove by. The driver honked. Probably because we were standing in the bus zone. But I like to think he was congratulating us. Tomorrow, same time. Same place. Same rain. But now, same wife. Pregnancy, hospital, and American healthcare. Let me tell you about the most terrifying word in the English language. Not cancer. Not emergency. Not even death. The most terrifying word is deductible. Because when you're pregnant, uninsured, and living in America, that one word can cost you everything. And unlike I do, you can't say it with broken English and hope for the best. You have to understand it. You have to negotiate it. You have to somehow afford it. Welcome to American healthcare, the final boss of language learning. 6 months after the wedding, Sarah came home from work with a small plastic stick. "Read this," she said. I looked at the stick. 2 pink lines. I knew what 2 pink lines meant. In any language. "We're pregnant?" I said. My voice cracked like I was 15 again. "We're pregnant," she said, crying and laughing at the same time. Professor Snuggles, the cat, looked offended by the noise. I should have been purely happy. And I was, mostly. But underneath the happiness, something dark was growing. Fear. Not of fatherhood. Of paperwork. Of insurance. Of the American medical system that I had heard so many horror stories about. My friend from work, a guy from Mexico named Carlos, had told me about his wife's delivery. $15,000, he said. After insurance. We're still paying it off. The baby is 2 years old. $15,000. In Vietnam, a hospital birth costs maybe $200. With a private room. And family bringing you soup. Here, you pay for the room, the doctor, the nurse, the anesthesia, the baby's first hat. The parking, everything itemized on a bill that looks like a novel. "Don't worry," Sarah said. "I have good insurance through the hospital. We'll be fine." "Define fine," I said. "Fine means we won't go bankrupt." Probably. Probably. Another terrifying word. Here's the science of healthcare vocabulary. Medical English is its own language, even for native speakers. Words like preeclampsia, gestational diabetes, epidural, amniocentesis, they're not English. They're Latin and Greek wearing disguises. For a second language learner, they're impossible. I spent hours on Google Translate, typing words I couldn't pronounce, reading articles I couldn't understand, crying quietly at my desk. The first OB/GYN appointment was a nightmare. Not because the doctor was bad, she was lovely, a woman named Dr. Patel with kind eyes and a calm voice. But because she used words like trimester and ultrasound and genetic screening as if they were common nouns. I sat in the plastic chair, nodding, smiling, understanding maybe 40%. "Do you have any questions?" Dr. Patel asked. I had a million questions. But I couldn't form them. My brain was frozen. So I said the only thing I could, "Is baby healthy?" "Yes," she said. "Everything looks great so far." "Okay. Thank you." That was it. That was my entire contribution to the first appointment. Sarah held my hand the whole time. She didn't make fun of me. She didn't say, "Why didn't you ask about the due date?" She just squeezed and said, "You're doing great afterward." I wasn't doing great. I was drowning. The second trimester was worse. Not medically, Sarah was glowing, beautiful, hungry for pickles at 2 a.m. But bureaucratically. We had to choose a hospital. We had to pre-register. We had to fill out forms that asked questions I couldn't answer. Primary insurance holder? That was Sarah. Secondary insurance? None. Copay amount? I didn't know what a copay was. Deductible met? I didn't know what a deductible was. I had to ask Sarah to explain everything. And every explanation made me feel more stupid. Here's what I learned about asking for help in a second language. It's humiliating. Not because people are mean, they're not. Because every time you ask, you're admitting that you don't belong. That this system wasn't built for you. That you're a child in an adult's world. But here's the other thing I learned, asking for help is the only way out. If you pretend to understand, you'll make mistakes. Expensive mistakes. Dangerous mistakes. So you have to swallow your pride and say I don't understand. Please explain again. Slowly. I said that sentence so many times during Sarah's pregnancy that it became my mantra. I don't understand. Please explain again. Slowly. At first, I hated saying it. My face would burn. My voice would shake. But then something shifted. People started responding differently. Instead of looking annoyed, they looked relieved. Thank you for asking, one nurse said. Most people just nod and then call later with panic attacks. That nurse became my favorite. Her name was Deb. She was 62, had been a labor and delivery nurse for 30 years, and had zero patience for pretense. You're Vietnamese? She asked at our third appointment. Yes. My son-in-law is Vietnamese. From Da Nang. He's been here 20 years and still can't say insurance right. You're doing fine. She taught me the most important medical English phrase, what are my options? Not what should I do, that gives away your power. What are my options puts you in control. It says, I may not know the words, but I know I have choices. I practiced that phrase in the mirror. What are my options? What are my options? By the time Sarah went into labor, 7 weeks later, early, because nothing in life goes according to plan, I could say it without stuttering. The birth itself was chaos. Beautiful chaos. Sarah's water broke at 3 a.m. I drove to the hospital in a panic, speeding, running a red light, don't tell anyone. We arrived at 3:47. The nurses were calm. Deb was there, thank God. You're having a baby today, she said to me. Not you. Her. But you're going to need to translate. Translate what? Her pain. She's going to say things she doesn't mean. You need to tell us what she actually needs. Sarah was in labor for 14 hours. 14 hours of holding her hand, wiping her forehead, and being yelled at in English. I can't do this, she screamed. You did this to me. She pointed at me. I pointed back. We did this together. The nurses laughed. Even in pain, Sarah laughed. And then, at 5:47 p.m., our daughter was born. Maya Lin Nguyen. 7 pounds, 3 ounces. A full head of black hair. Screaming like a tiny angry bird. The most beautiful sound I had ever heard. I cut the umbilical cord. My hands were shaking so badly that Deb had to guide me. You did it, she said. Dad. Dad. That was me. I was a dad. In America. Speaking English. Holding my daughter. The hospital bill came 3 weeks later. I opened it with one eye closed, like a bomb disposal expert. The total was $32,000. My heart stopped. Then I saw the insurance adjustment. Then the amount owed. $3,200. Not nothing. But not $32,000. We could pay it. Slowly. In installments. Like Carlos. I called the billing department to set up a payment plan. Hi, I said. My name is. I'm calling about my daughter. Maya. Bill number. I stumbled. The woman on the phone was patient. What are my options? I asked. Deb's phrase. My armor. She explained. Monthly payments. No interest. As long as we paid something every month. You can do $100 a month, she said. Or 50. Whatever works. 50, I said. For now. 50 it is. Congratulations on your baby. Thank you. And thank you for being patient. My English is not. Your English is fine, she said. You said what are my options? Most Americans don't know to ask that. You're doing great. I hung up and cried. Not because I was sad. Because I was relieved. Because I had survived. Because Maya was sleeping in the next room, and Sarah was making coffee, and we were a family. A family with a payment plan. But a family. That night, I went to the bus stop. Alone. It was raining. I stood under the dripping roof and looked at the bench where I had first sat next to Sarah. So much had changed. But the rain hadn't. The bus hadn't. The bench hadn't. I took out my phone and texted Sarah, rain same. She texted back, rain same. Come home. Maya is crying. I smiled. Walked home. Picked up my daughter. She stopped crying immediately. She already knew my smell, my heartbeat, my broken English lullabies. You're okay, I whispered. Daddy's here. Daddy's English is bad. But Daddy's here. Here's what pregnancy and American healthcare taught me about language. You don't need to understand every word. You need to understand the words that keep you and your family safe. What are my options? Please explain again slowly. I don't understand. Those aren't failures. Those are tools. Use them. Abuse them. They will save you. And one more thing. Babies don't care about your grammar. They care about your heartbeat. Your smell. Your voice, even if it's imperfect. Maya will grow up speaking perfect English and perfect Vietnamese. She will correct my pronunciation someday. And I will let her. Because that's the deal. We learn for them. We struggle for them. We say what are my options for them. So here's my challenge to you. Whatever your deductible is, the thing that terrifies you in English, face it. Call the billing department. Go to the doctor. Fill out the form. Say I don't understand until they explain it in words you can hold. You're not alone. We're all just walking each other home. In broken English. With payment plans. And that's enough. Raising bilingual kids, and failing gracefully. Let me tell you about the most humbling experience in the world. It's not failing a test. It's not getting lost in a foreign city. It's your 4-year-old daughter correcting your English. In front of your American wife. While eating a peanut butter sandwich that you definitely didn't make because you're allergic. Daddy, Maya says, looking up from her crustless sandwich, it's she went to the store, not she go to the store. Then she takes a bite. Then she says, you're welcome. I wanted to be offended. Instead, I just nodded. She was right. And she was 4. 4. Welcome to bilingual parenting. It's not for the faint of heart. Or the proud. Or anyone who thought that after 10 years in America, they'd finally sound like a native speaker. You don't. You sound like a dad who learned English from a bus stop and a broken umbrella. And your kids will remind you of that every single day. Not cruelly. Just factually. Like they're telling you the sky is blue or rain is wet. The science here is both beautiful and brutal. Children's brains are language sponges. They absorb grammar, pronunciation, and syntax without even trying. By age 5, a bilingual child has neural pathways that you, as an adult learner, will never have. That's not a failure on your part. That's neuroplasticity. Their brains are young and flexible. Yours is older and set in its ways. You can still learn, clearly, you can, but you'll never sound like them. And that's okay. That's actually the point. We decided on a one-parent, one-language strategy. I speak Vietnamese to Maya. Sarah speaks English to Maya. The theory is that kids learn both languages simultaneously without confusion. The reality is that Maya is 4 and already knows that Daddy understands English perfectly well, so why would she bother with Vietnamese? Con Ngoại Viet D, I say. Speak Vietnamese. She looks at me. No, she says. In English. Then she goes back to her sandwich. I have been defeated by a preschooler. Here's what I've learned about teaching your child your native language. You can't force it. You can't bribe it. You can only live it. So I talk to Maya in Vietnamese even when she answers in English. I tell her stories about my childhood in Hanoi, the motorbikes, the sticky rice, the way my grandmother smelled like incense and coconut oil. She listens. She doesn't always understand. But she listens. And one day, I know, she'll remember. The real comedy comes when Maya mixes languages in ways that break both. Last week, she said, Daddy, I want en com with peanut butter. That's Vietnamese for eat rice. Rice with peanut butter. I didn't know whether to be horrified or impressed. I made it for her. She ate 2 bites and declared it yucky. Then she asked for pizza. In English. Obviously. Sarah and I have different philosophies about correcting Maya's mistakes. Sarah believes in gentle correction. Maya, we say I saw the dog, not I see the dog yesterday. I believe in letting her be wrong because she's 4 and wrong is how you learn. We fight about this. Not real fights, the kind of fights that end with us laughing because we're arguing about the grammar of a child who still wears her shoes on the wrong feet. Here's the neuroscience of bilingual parenting. When a child hears 2 languages at home, their brain develops something called cognitive flexibility. They're better at problem solving, multitasking, and ignoring irrelevant information. They also develop empathy more quickly because they understand that different people speak differently. That's the gift. The struggle is real, but the gift is real too. My second child, Leo, was born 2 years after Maya. He's 2 now. He doesn't correct my English yet, he barely speaks at all. But he already understands both languages. When I say Lide, come here, he comes. When Sarah says come here, he also comes. He doesn't care which language. He just cares that someone wants him. That's the secret of bilingual kids. They're not confused. They're just open. The hardest moment came when Maya started preschool. American preschool. With American kids who speak American English at American speed. The first week, she came home crying. They don't understand me, she said. I said I want to go potty and they laughed. I knew that feeling. That bus stop feeling. The feeling of being the outsider, the one who says things wrong, the one who doesn't belong. I sat her on my lap. Maya, I said in Vietnamese, listen to me. You are not wrong. You are different. And different is not bad. Different is how you teach them new words. What new words? Vietnamese words. Teach them come on. Teach them pho. Teach them me and bo. They don't know those words. You can give them. She thought about this. I can give them words? Yes. Words are presents. You have presents that nobody else has. That's your power. The next day, she came home smiling. I taught Liam how to say xi and chow, she said. He said sin chow. It was wrong. But I told him it's okay to be wrong. You just try again. My heart exploded. Not literally, that would be a medical emergency. But close. Here's what bilingual parenting has taught me about my own English. I used to be ashamed of my accent, my mistakes, my rain same constructions. But watching Maya learn 2 languages without shame, watching her mix them up, laugh at herself, and keep going, I realized something. Shame is learned. Children aren't born ashamed of their mistakes. They're taught shame by adults who value perfection over connection. I don't want to be that adult. Not for Maya. Not for Leo. Not for myself. So I've started making mistakes on purpose. In front of her. Daddy, it's she ran, not she runned. Oh, you're right, I say. Thank you for teaching me. She beams. She's 4 years old and she's my English teacher. That's not embarrassing. That's beautiful. Last night, we were all in the kitchen. Sarah was making pasta. Maya was drawing. Leo was throwing food on the floor, his contribution to dinner. I was chopping vegetables. Maya looked up from her drawing and said, Daddy, how do you say I love you in Vietnamese? Con you me, I said. Or con you bo. Or con you ca na. She repeated it. Slowly. Wrong. Con. You me. Perfect, I said. No, she said. Not perfect. But good? Good is perfect. Good is always perfect. She smiled. Went back to her drawing. Drew a picture of our family, Mama, Daddy, Maya, Leo, and a cat that looked nothing like Professor Snuggles but was clearly him. Underneath, she wrote, I love my family. Misspelled. Imperfect. Beautiful. Here's my advice for anyone raising bilingual kids, or anyone who is, in some way, still a kid learning a new language. Stop trying to be perfect. Stop hiding your mistakes. Let your children hear you stumble. Let them correct you. Let them laugh with you, not at you. Because what you're teaching them isn't just vocabulary and grammar. You're teaching them that it's safe to be wrong. That love doesn't require fluency. That I love my family is enough. It's always been enough. Tonight, after Maya went to sleep, Sarah and I sat on the couch. It was raining. Of course it was raining. We didn't have an umbrella. We didn't need one. She's going to be smarter than both of us, Sarah said. She's already smarter than both of us, I said. Rain same, she said. Rain same, I said. And somewhere upstairs, Maya dreamed in two languages. Vietnamese and English. Mixed together like the rice and peanut butter she asked for but didn't eat. Perfectly imperfect. Exactly as it should be. The rainy anniversary. Let me ask you something. Have you ever stood in a place that changed your life, years later, and felt the ghost of your past self standing right next to you? Not a haunting. A conversation. The you from then and the you from now, sharing an umbrella, watching the same rain fall on the same broken bench. That's what anniversaries are. Not parties or presents. Time travel. And on our 5th wedding anniversary, Sarah took me back to the bus stop. I didn't know that's where we were going. She just said dress warm and bring the umbrella. Not a nice umbrella. The umbrella. The broken one. The duct tape disaster that had been hanging on our wall for 5 years, collecting dust and memories. I took it down. The duct tape was peeling. The metal rib was still bent. The fabric still had that hole where water dripped onto my left shoulder. It was ugly. It was perfect. Why are we bringing this? I asked. You'll see, she said. We drove to the old neighborhood. Pike Street. The same gray sky. The same passive-aggressive mist. The same bus stop shelter with the same dripping roof. It hadn't changed. Not really. The bench had been repainted, dark green instead of faded brown. The bus schedule was different. But the bones were the same. The bones remembered us. Sarah sat down on the bench, patting the spot next to her. 7:15, she said. Just like the first time. It's 7:15 at night, I said. So? The rain doesn't know the difference. I sat down. Opened the broken umbrella over both of us. Water dripped through the hole onto my left shoulder. Same shoulder. Same drip. Same rain. Do you remember what you said to me? She asked. I said I think rain hates me more. You have umbrella. Even broken. No. Before that. I said something first. I thought. It had been 5 years. 2 kids. A wedding. A pandemic. 1,000 fights and 1,000,000 small kindnesses. But I remembered. You said this rain hates us, doesn't it? She smiled. And you said I think rain hates me more. That's when I knew. Knew what? That you were funny. And sad. And brave. Nobody says rain hates me more unless they've been lonely for a very long time. Here's the neuroscience of anniversaries. Your brain has something called episodic memory, the ability to re-experience past events. When you return to a meaningful place, your hippocampus, the memory center, lights up like a Christmas tree. But here's the magic, you're not just remembering. You're reconsolidating. Your brain takes the old memory and updates it with new information. The you from 5 years ago was lonely and scared. The you from now is sitting next to his wife, holding a broken umbrella, smiling. That's not just memory. That's healing. We sat in silence for a while. Watching the number 7 bus come and go. Watching people get on and off. Each person had a story. Each person was someone's Sarah or someone's me. I wondered how many of them were learning English. How many were lonely? How many were one conversation away from everything changing? Maya asked me something yesterday, Sarah said. What? She asked, how did Daddy learn English? I told her the truth. A bus stop and a broken umbrella. She said, "That's not a school." I said, "No. It's better." Better than school? School teaches you grammar. The bus stop taught you courage. Which one actually worked? She had a point. I had spent 12 years in classrooms. Flashcards. Textbooks. Grammar drills. None of it prepared me for "wanna grab lunch?" Or "I could care less" or "this rain hates us." The bus stop taught me those things. The bus stop taught me that language lives in the messy middle, not the clean margins. Do you ever miss it? I asked. The beginning? When everything was new and terrifying? Every day, she said. But I also don't. Because the beginning was hard. You cried, remember? I heard you through the bathroom door once. You thought I couldn't hear you. But I could. I didn't remember that. Or maybe I had blocked it out. What was I crying about? You said I'll never be good enough for her. You were talking about me. And I wanted to knock on the door and say you already are. But I didn't. Because you needed to figure it out yourself. She was right. I did. We sat through 3 buses. The rain got heavier. The umbrella got more useless. But we didn't move. Because moving would have meant leaving the moment. And the moment was too precious to leave. Then Sarah did something unexpected. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small box. Not a ring box. A wooden box. Hand-painted. With a tiny umbrella on the lid. What is this? I asked. Open it. I opened it. Inside was a piece of paper. Folded. Old. The edges were soft, like it had been handled many times. I unfolded it. It was a bus ticket. The number 7. Dated November 14th, 5 years ago. The day we met. I kept it, she said. I didn't know why at the time. I just had a feeling. Like the universe was saying, keep this. It matters. You kept a bus ticket for 5 years? I kept the beginning of our story. The physical proof that it happened. That you showed up. That I showed up. That 2 people in the rain can change everything. I didn't cry. Okay, I cried. A little. The rain covered it. You're crying, Sarah said. It's the rain, I said. Liar, she said. Yeah, I said. Liar. Here's what I want you to understand. Language learning isn't a straight line. It's not a graph that goes up and to the right. It's a bus route. It has stops. It has delays. It has wrong turns and missed connections. But if you stay on the bus, if you keep showing up, you will eventually get somewhere. Not the somewhere you planned. Somewhere better. 5 years ago, I couldn't order coffee without panicking. Now I tell bedtime stories in English. 5 years ago, I said rain same because I didn't know the word for forecast. Now I say rain same because it's our inside joke. The mistake became a tradition. The error became a treasure. That's what time does. It takes your shame and turns it into a souvenir. The number 7 bus came again. The last one of the night. The driver, a different driver, not the one who honked at our wedding, looked at us sitting in the rain under a broken umbrella. You folks need a ride? He called out. No thanks, Sarah said. We're exactly where we need to be. He shrugged. Closed the doors. drove away. We were alone again. Just us and the rain and the bench and the umbrella that should have been thrown away 1,000 times but wasn't. Happy anniversary, Sarah said. Happy anniversary, I said. And then I said something I had never said before in English. Not because I didn't know the words. Because I was waiting for the right moment. And this was it. Sarah, I said. Come on. For sitting next to me. For staying. For not correcting my grammar when I said rain same. For making me believe that I could belong here. She looked at me. Rain on her face. Makeup running. Same as the wedding. Same as every rainy day. You said come on, she said. That's Vietnamese. I'm bilingual now, I said. Sort of. You're fully bilingual. You always were. You just didn't believe it. I kissed her. The umbrella fell. We didn't pick it up. Let it lie there on the wet ground, duct tape and all. Let it rest. It had done its job. We walked home. Hand in hand. No umbrella. Soaking wet. Laughing like teenagers. Two people in their 30s, parents of two, acting like they'd just met. Because in a way, they had. Every day, you meet your partner again. Every day, you choose them. Every day, you learn a new word for love. That night, after Sarah fell asleep, I went to my home office. The broken umbrella was still on the wall. The bus ticket was in the wooden box on my desk. Maya's drawing of our family was taped to the monitor. And on my laptop, I started writing. Not a textbook. Not a grammar guide. A story. Our story. The one you're listening to right now. I wrote, it started with rain. It started with a bus stop. It started with a woman who saw my broken English and called it poetry. Then I stopped. Because I didn't need to write the ending. The ending was still happening. And it would keep happening, every day, as long as I kept showing up. Same time. Same place. Same rain. Tomorrow is our anniversary. We're going back to the bus stop. Same bench. Same umbrella. Same dripping roof. If you're in Seattle, come say hi. I'll be the guy holding a broken umbrella, speaking English with an accent he used to hate but now loves. Because that accent is the map of where I've been. And the map is beautiful. What the rain taught me about English. Let me tell you what the rain taught me. Not the teachers. Not the textbooks. Not the apps with their cheerful notifications and gamified vocabulary drills. The rain. The cold, gray, passive-aggressive Seattle rain that I cursed for 3 years before I finally understood, it wasn't my enemy. It was my classroom. And the lesson wasn't grammar or pronunciation. The lesson was patience. The lesson was showing up. The lesson was getting wet and not dying. 5 years ago, I believed that English was a mountain I had to climb. The top was fluency. The top was sounding like a native speaker. The top was never making a mistake again. I was wrong about everything. English isn't a mountain. It's rain. It falls on everyone, the fluent and the struggling, the native and the newcomer. You can't control it. You can't stop it. You can only stand in it and let yourself get wet. And once you stop fighting the rain, something miraculous happens. You realize you were never going to melt. Here's the neuroscience of that realization. Your brain has a built-in error detection system called the anterior cingulate cortex. It lights up when you make a mistake, especially a public one. That's the source of shame, of embarrassment, of the desire to disappear. But here's what researchers have discovered: the error detection system calms down when you stop judging the error as a threat. When you say, "Yep, I made a mistake, moving on," your brain releases a different chemical, acetylcholine, which is associated with learning. In other words, shame blocks learning. Self-compassion unlocks it. I spent years shaming myself for rain same. I thought it was proof that I would never belong. Now I understand, rain same wasn't a mistake. It was a breakthrough. Because I said something. I communicated. I connected. And the person who mattered didn't correct me. She repeated it back with a smile. That's the secret that no language program will ever sell you. Connection is the curriculum. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine you're learning to play the piano. You sit at the keyboard, terrified of playing a wrong note. So you don't play. You just stare at the keys. You memorize the theory. You watch videos of concert pianists. But you never touch the keys. How long will it take you to learn piano? Forever. Because piano isn't learned by watching. It's learned by playing wrong notes until your fingers figure out where to go. English is the same. Every rain same is a wrong note. Every wrong note is data. Every data point brings you closer to the music. I keep a journal now. Not for vocabulary. For moments. Every time I say something in English that makes someone laugh, or think, or feel understood, I write it down. Last week, I told a coworker I'm running on coffee and chaos. She laughed and said same. That's not textbook English. That's real English. And I wrote it down because it reminded me that I'm not a student anymore. I'm a person who lives in this language. Imperfectly. Beautifully. My daughter Maya is 5 now. She corrects my English less often. Either because my English has improved or because she stopped noticing my mistakes. I think it's the second one. Children are excellent at filtering out irrelevant information. My accent? Irrelevant. My occasional missing articles? Irrelevant. What matters is that I read her bedtime stories. That I make her laugh. That I say I love you in 2 languages, and she understands both. Last night, she asked me a question. Daddy, why do you and Mama have a broken umbrella on the wall? I thought about how to answer. In English. In Vietnamese. In any language. Because it reminds us, I said, that broken things can still be useful. And that love doesn't need to be perfect to work. She nodded. Like my drawings? Exactly like your drawings. She went back to her coloring book. I went back to the kitchen. Sarah was making tea. The rain was falling outside. Same rain. Different life. Here's what I want you to take from this story. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are standing in the rain, like I was, like every language learner has been since the beginning of time. The rain is not punishment. The rain is the medium. Every drop is a conversation. Every puddle is a mistake you survived. Every rainbow, and yes, rainbows come after rain, is the moment you realize you understood something you couldn't understand before. I have a challenge for you. Tomorrow morning, find your bus stop. It doesn't have to be a physical bus stop. It could be a coffee shop. A park bench. A chat room. A comment section. Find a place where you can speak English to another human being. Say something wrong. Say it loudly. Say it without apologizing. And when the person responds, when they understand you, even through the mistakes, notice how that feels. That feeling is not relief. That feeling is learning. That feeling is your brain rewiring itself to say this is safe. You will never feel ready. I wasn't ready. I stood at that bus stop for 14 months before Sarah sat down next to me. I was wet, cold, lonely, and convinced I would never belong. But I kept showing up. Because showing up is the only thing that works. Not talent. Not IQ. Not expensive courses. Showing up. In the rain. With a broken umbrella. Again and again and again. One more thing. Stop comparing your inside to other people's outside. You hear a native speaker and think they never struggle. That's a lie. Native speakers struggle too. They forget words. They make grammatical errors. They say I could care less when they mean I couldn't care less. The difference isn't skill. The difference is that they don't judge themselves for it. They just keep talking. You can do that too. You have permission. I'm going to tell you a secret. I still make mistakes. Every day. Last week, I told Sarah I'm going to lay down instead of lie down. She didn't correct me. She just handed me a pillow. Because she knows, the point of language isn't correctness. The point is getting the pillow. So here's my final lesson. The rain taught me that fluency is not the absence of mistakes. Fluency is the presence of courage. It's the willingness to open your mouth even when your hands are shaking. It's the choice to say rain same instead of saying nothing. It's the understanding that every native speaker was once a beginner, and every beginner is just a future native speaker who hasn't arrived yet. You will arrive. Not at perfection. At connection. And connection is better. I wrote this story for you. Not for money. Not for views. For you. The person who feels stuck. The person who wants to quit. The person who thinks I'll never be good enough. You are good enough. You always were. You just needed someone to tell you. So I'm telling you. Sit down on the bench. Open your broken umbrella. Say something wrong. Say it to the person next to you. Because that person might be the one who stays. And if they stay, you'll never need another textbook. Sarah is calling me. Dinner is ready. Maya wants me to read a story. Leo is throwing food again. Life is loud and messy and imperfect. And I wouldn't trade a single second of it. Not even the seconds when I said rain same and felt my face burn with shame. Those seconds were the seeds. And look what grew. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being brave enough to learn a language that didn't come with your mother's milk. That's the hardest kind of learning. And you're doing it. Right now. In the rain. With me. Here's my favorite quote. I didn't know it when I was standing at that bus stop. I learned it later, from a book Sarah gave me. It's by the writer Samuel Beckett. He said, ever tried. Ever failed. No matter. Try again. Fail again. Fail better. That's English. That's love. That's life. Fail better. Every day. In the rain. With a broken umbrella. Until the rain stops feeling like an enemy and starts feeling like a friend. Soft rain sound fades in. The camera shows the broken umbrella hanging on a wall, then slowly zooms out to the narrator sitting on the bus stop bench, rain falling gently. So here we are. Same bench. Same rain. Same broken umbrella. But different, aren't we? You and me. Because now you know the secret that no textbook ever dared to print: you don't learn English. You live it. You fall in it. You get soaked, make mistakes, say rain same, and somehow, miraculously, you're understood. That's not failure. That's fluency. The real kind. Here's what I want you to remember: that bus stop is everywhere. It's your coffee shop, your Zoom call, your awkward hello to a neighbor. And that broken umbrella? You already have it. It's your courage. Your willingness to be wrong. Your choice to say something, anything, even when your hands shake. So don't stop here. Don't let this be just another video you watch and forget. Let this be the day you decide to get wet. Let this be the day you finally believe, my English is enough. I am enough. Now I have a question for you. In the comments below, tell me one word or phrase in English that you used to be afraid of, but you're going to say out loud tomorrow. Just one. Write it down. Make it real. I read every comment. And who knows? Your rain same might just change someone else's life. If this story touched you, hit that subscribe button. Not because I want numbers. Because I have more stories. Real stories. Stories about love, failure, parenting, and the beautiful mess of learning English when nobody speaks your language. You don't want to miss what comes next. Trust me. The rain isn't done with us yet. Share this video with one person who needs to hear it. One friend who's struggling, who's ready to quit, who thinks they'll never belong. Be their broken umbrella. Send them this. Let them know they're not alone. And if you're still sitting on that bench in your mind, wondering if you'll ever make it, stand up. Walk into the rain. Say your first wrong sentence today. Because your story? It's just beginning. Subscribe. Comment. Share. And I'll see you in the next video. Same time. Same place. Same rain. But now? Same family.